also asked that when he was teaching and they would take his students to go visit, or where they would go visit, but they would talk about these things, that scientists seem to kind of ignore the fine-tuning factors that you talked about. And you mentioned that, you know, that there were two main kind of fine-tuning principles baked into the Drake equation, and now there's really only three that the SETI project looks at, but in fact there's hundreds and hundreds of fine-tuning principles that all contribute to allowing life to flourish, to exist and flourish on the Earth. And in the larger scientific community, do you find, I mean, obviously, even looking at the Drake equation, the more recent calculations, the possibility of life existing outside is less than what it seemed to be years ago. You mentioned that Carl Sagan was optimistic, and it seems that there's still optimism. You said there still is, and maybe even there's increased optimism, and yet, you know, are people really grappling with that fine-tuning issue, and are they being realistic, I guess, in your estimation, in terms of the likelihood of what they might find? And in what ways is this conversation progressing, or is it not progressing in the larger scientific community?
That's a good question. You know, I think for the most part, popular scientists are promoting the ideas along the lines of Carl Sagan that life simply must be out there. There's simply too many stars, you know, and we are really ultimately not special. But at the same time, I am finding more and more sources that are starting to be honest, like the ones I gave, Rare Earth, Robert Nai's, Stephen Webb, in his book, Where's Everybody, that I talked about, you know, the 50th of his 50 solutions is his own, where he tries to combine all the different solutions and finds that likely we are alone. And so it is getting out there, but the reality is, you know, most of the study is saying, hey, we simply haven't looked enough. We need to keep looking, give us more money. We're sure we'll find it. You know, it's kind of like, you know, we'll find it in 20 years, and 20 years later, we'll find it in another 20 years, and 20 years later, we'll find them in another 20 years. They just kind of keep pushing it off. So a lot, you know, so many people have really resisted some of these discoveries, but at the same time, it is, at least some sources are getting it out there.